going on, everybody? Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. My name is Kyle Smith. Welcome to the 2024 season. Even though it's preseason, we are excited. We have Vikings football to talk today. Boys, how are we doing? Great to have y'all.
That was such a fun preseason game. I'm getting even more ready for the season now.
I was waiting for
it. I agree, man. I'm trying to think when the last time I was that excited to watch a preseason game was. And I think anytime that you've drafted a new quarterback to your team, you're always a little excited to see him in the first preseason matchup. But this one in particular, there was a lot of fun storylines going into it, a lot of fun things to watch, and it delivered. And it was also a good football game.
I could not believe that was the Vikings' first preseason win since 2019. That's mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, Kevin O'Connell never won a preseason game. Who knew?
As far as preseason game goes, Vikings fans, we never really cared. We're like, okay, preseason just doesn't matter. I remember shows where it'd be like, the Vikings got beat in the preseason, but everybody stayed healthy. Nobody got injured, so that's great. That's all we cared about.
JJ McCarthy comes in and continues his winning ways. Although JJ McCarthy, to me, wasn't the biggest story, although he will be the most popular topic. I guess we can go ahead and start before we go and knock the rust off. We'll do game balls and donkeys if you guys want. We do these every year for anyone that's new that watches us later. We have the regulars in the chat, so we'll do that. But the Vikings beat the Raiders 24-23, walk-off field goal by rookie Will Reichard. Shout out to the kicker, overcoming some adversity in the game. But
yeah, he had the block kick early, and I thought that might hurt him a little bit, but he came back in, he made 3 extra points, and then knocked through that game winner, and that must have felt good.
Yeah, it was cool. I think you guys will agree too, if I speak for everybody, or if everybody agrees with my take. It's fun because it's not just one time where like, hey, it was just today was the Justin Jefferson game. He had 220 yards and 3 touchdowns or whatever. This was everybody that did well had a good moment or two. There are some negatives to talk to, but I'm excited for many reasons about this game because there were a handful or more exciting moments from different players. So I'll let you guys kick it off. Who would you give your game ball to this week in preseason week 1?
Low-hanging fruit is probably JJ McCarthy. He looked rocky in a couple places, particularly that interception I think was pretty bad. We'll talk about that later on when we dive more into him. So you could give one to him, but I want to go with Tristan Jackson, wide receiver. He had himself, I believe it was 100 yards receiving and a touchdown on the day. That wide receiver 3 position for the Vikings is kind of open, and that's a way to make a case for yourself for sticking around and being that third receiver on the team. That's what you want to do when you're in that position of fighting for a roster spot. You want to go out there and have a performance like that. So game ball, Tristan Jackson. I like the name that he's making for himself on this team.
There's so many different ways to go for a game ball here. There were a lot of performances that were so good. But I think, like you, I'm going to go for someone, you could go McCarthy or, any of the really young rookies. But
right.
I am really encouraged by what I saw from Bo Richter.
Yay! I wondered how long it would take us to mention Bo Richter, and we got about 3 minutes or 4 minutes and 30 seconds in.
Undrafted Air Force free agent comes in and just looks really good. I know he was playing against like third stringers, but when you're an undrafted free agent, that's where you start.
Yeah.
6 tackles, 4 by himself, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and 1 quarterback hit. I mean, what a freaking game.
And coming to this game, if I would have said Bo Richter, but either of you said, oh, he plays for the Vikings.
Yeah, who's Bo Richter? No.
No, would have had no idea.
So I got to give Bo some love there.
Yeah, great call out, Adam. And this is why we say that we enjoy preseason here on the Purple People podcast, because it gives us an opportunity to look at guys like Bo Richter and finally see them play football for this team and make a name for themselves. And it's exciting to get to know your young talent on the team.
And we've seen some young players get elevated from out of nowhere on this team multiple times in franchise history. So it's great to see this happen. I mean, sometimes they get 2 interceptions for touchdowns in preseason, and then they disappear off the map. Other times they're undrafted free agents and they end up in the Hall of Fame. So who knows?
Yeah.
I wanted to pick Bo Reiger as well, but I'm going to go with someone a bit out of the way. JJ McCarthy, we'll talk in depth about him. I have nothing but love for the kid. Him and Sam Darnold look fine. I'm going to give mine to Kene Nwangwu. If they can figure out the new kickoff rule and get him to the outside the numbers, good luck. That dude is so fast. He averaged, because he broke a long one of 48, but with this long 48-yard run, he averaged 10.4. And that's only a stat for the stat sheet because he had 5 carries for 52 yards, and his longest was 48. So you can do the math on those. But he got himself a rushing touchdown. And
that had to be big for him because that's one of the big question marks in his game.
Now, although I was rooting heavily for Ty Chandler, he was 7 for 33 and averaged 4.7, which is great. Kene Nwangwu should break the roster because he could be running back depth and he should be the kickoff return man until somebody takes that spot from him. So it was very fun, and we can kind of just segue it into that and see what you guys thought of that. But if they can get this down and special teams can just be 16 and 32, be average, he might have a chance to bring back a handful for a touchdown this year, and that could swing the velocity of games.
We have been pounding our fists for a while for Kene to kind of have like a package of plays out on the field. He's got that elite level speed that you want to see them use. He's a small guy. He scares me a little bit in pass protection. You really don't want Kene out there pass protecting as a running back. He's kind of going to get ran through on that one. But man, if they can find a way to utilize his speed, on not only on special teams, but like I said, have that package of plays. Get him a screen, get him an end around every now and then, give him an opportunity. He could be a nice little weapon for this team.
He still, I believe, has a little bit of work to do to secure a spot on the 53 because that halfback room, he is going up against Myles Gaskin and Dwayne McBride, which I don't know if we saw really either of them in the preseason.
I don't remember seeing McBride.
He was out there. He had 3 carries for 17 yards. Yeah.
Okay.
So Gaskin was 5 for 22. Then.
Yeah, there was no spectacular running back outside of Kene, and it was only because of the long run. JJ McCarthy, 2 for 18. Everybody
Aaron Jones was not suited up.
Which you wouldn't expect him to. He's a veteran. He don't really need to be out there.
Harrison Smith not suited up.
Justin Jefferson
not suited up. So I mean, I get it. Same with who's the defensive end that's a little banged up right now.
Van Ginkel.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a handful of the guys that should be starting that didn't play. So taking that into consideration, knocking off the rust for it being live game action, not a bad outing by the Vikings. There was some stuff that we can go into and segue into the Donkeys for this, but there's to be expected week 1. I would expect some of these guys need to get that first hit and get the nerves out and all that. But overall, you're happy with a lot of the team. There are some parts of the team that are concerning, but okay with most of what I saw there, and the depth looks decent.
Mattel starting a safety during that game was kind of interesting because that's not really his role. He's more of that supplementary defender they like to have float around, and then they take a little bit of depth from the cornerback because he is essentially a nickel. Mattel says. Mm-hmm. So the starting corners ended up being on the outside when that's not always their strength. And I don't know what's going to happen here, if they're going to end up adding more cornerback talent or how that's going to work. But when Harrison Smith returns, Metellus can go back to doing what he was doing last season. That secondary is going to look different.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's heard any latest news on Stephon Gilmore coming into Minnesota. I know that there were some rumors he was supposed to be coming in on Monday for a workout or an interview or something, but there's a potential corner signing that could be coming probably 15 minutes after we end this podcast.
Yeah, Kevin O'Connell had nothing but praise for Gilmore after that. We talked about it after the game to the media because a member of the media asked him about Gilmore.
O'Connell was talking really, really positively about him. You can tell that that's a player that he wants on this team.
There's nothing from
and he
Adam
actually was
Schefter
talking
right
about
now.
Creasy, about how if he can help his team win, he's going to do what he needs to do.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that was almost a call out to being like, hey, I do really want this guy. It's as close as you can get to saying, I want him on our roster without saying, I want him on our roster.
Right.
There's nothing from Adam Schefter reporting right now. The last tweet he put out was 2 hours ago, which is breaking news if you guys want to hear it. The San Francisco 49ers have officially signed wide receiver Robbie Chosen to a 1-year deal.
I thought he retired.
Yeah, I think he did. Nothing about Stephon Gilmore yet. So Pat
what is
McAfee
more
was
expensive,
talking
a
about it.
1-year deal for Stephon Gilmore or one steak dinner with sides and drinks at Manny's?
Gotta be the Manny's based on the price of that menu that we've seen online.
He did, Charlotte. He was scheduled for a visit today. Adam Schefter said that he believed it could happen today just because we need the depth, and you don't call a guy in this part of the year when you're that hurting at a position group.
All right,
It
so in
just depends
chat
on
here,
the price.
Jonathan is asking about Lewis Seen, and I want to talk about that because I saw people saying Lewis Seen had a struggling game and that he did nothing to help his stock, and I disagree with that. I thought he took some nice angles for when he was playing and that he looked okay. I mean, I'm not going to say he looked like a first-round pick out there, but he was finding a way to contribute, and I thought he played pretty well when he got in.
I certainly liked the fact that they're giving him a chance to play on the field because we have never really even seen him get the opportunity.
Doing that Peter Griffin. You have that one laugh that. Oh, here we go. What's up, Tommy? Haven't seen you in a while. We'll put your stuff up. I don't know. I need to see something flashy from the kid. Year one, I can exclude.
Did good, but he's no Caleb Williams.
I need to see something flashy from Lewis Seen. You know, year one injury, we can throw that out. I'm not going to hold that against you, but to be healthy and to not even dress part of the season last year, I mean, what do you have to do? You're going to have to go out there and light it up, and he was far from that, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree, Adam. He took some good angles, but I didn't see anything to be like, man, you know, there's the first round pick that we needed.
No.
Everybody above him is solidifying that at best he's going to be a rotational player. I don't know.
Theo Jackson had a rough day, and you know the other safeties in the game didn't do much to move past him. So for now, I am not really adjusting my safety depth charts at the moment.
Like I said, I like the fact that he got the opportunity to go out there and play on the field. And that's got to feel good for him, too, even though it's, you know, preseason game number 1, to just get an opportunity to go out there and to play in the NFL. I still think he's a long shot to make this roster. I just don't see how you're keeping him on the 53. And to me, it feels more like one of those, hey, other teams in the NFL, here is Lewis Seen. If you guys want him, give us a 7th round pick and he can be yours.
Which because the Vikings did make that transaction to swap cornerbacks with the Cowboys a little bit earlier this week. And honestly, I liked the trade because they got a cornerback that can play special teams, a little taller.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And from what I read, the reason he was traded is because Mike Zimmer got fed up with him, is what I read.
Surprise, surprise.
Which is hilarious that he's going to get another Clemson corner. That's, oh, man. The life writes jokes itself, you know. Hey, I've got one. Shout out to my buddy Mike Castellino. Always join his spaces on Twitter when we talk about the Vikings. I said, hey, I was making a joke because I'm trolling and being an asshole. Can we trade Lewis Seen for a D tackle that's is okay? Just okay. Because outside of Harrison Phillips, this game wasn't good for any of the
You didn't
tackles.
like Levi Drake Rodriguez?
Yeah. Is he ready to start?
I thought he played well. He could be a good, solid backup rotational guy at the moment.
See,
was he the guy with the long hair?
The guy that looks like he could be in the bloodline? Yes.
Yeah. I'm a fan of his. He's going to make the team.
And Adam, this is why I love you, because we can have the banter back and forth. I agree. I'm rooting for that kid. I like Jonathan Bullard, too. I mean, he's a hometown hero for me. He played at the rival high school down the road. I feel like, and I'm going to say this, and this is going to be very mean because I like these guys. They play for my team, and I'm rooting for them to succeed. But a lot of the defensive linemen we have that aren't, edge defenders, all the interior guys, they remind me of Garrett Bradbury on the other side. He's kind of just there and okay.
But keep in mind,
I'm
too,
always
Jerry Tillery was not in this game.
Yeah, that's right. He is banged up, so we'll see how he does. Former first-round pick. Hopefully, he can be a decent reclamation. But I feel
he's
like
got an opportunity to try to rebound from what has been kind of a disappointing start to his NFL career.
I guess what I'm saying is I'm a bad boyfriend. I'm always looking and flirting with the other idea of replacing these guys.
Oh, I'm always for adding more beef and more power in those trenches. Mm-hmm. Give me that.
Because think about it. I said this on Mike's Space the other day on Twitter. Since Mike Zimmer left and Andre, what's his last name that left for the Giants, the D-line coach? Patterson? Andre Patterson and Mike Zimmer left. The beef on the team has just dwindled away. They got super Ozempic on the D-line, and everybody's skinny and fit now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's true.
I need another Linval Joseph. I need another Sheldon. I would beg Sheldon Richardson back at this point. And this is no shot at Jordan Phillips. He's a fine player. But outside of that, I want more at that position group because this franchise historically is known for wide receivers and beefy defensive line. And
another problem too is that Minnesota Vikings fans are used to that 4-3 front where they could load things up and have that gigantic nose tackle and not really have it hurt the mobility of being able to go sideline to sideline. In a 3-4, you can't really do that. You have to have more athletic ends, and you can't really just have a big guy in the middle to take up space because it'll take up a roster spot and give you a guy that can't do what other guys can do.
It's true. I'm still in love with, even though not necessarily the Ed Donashell year, the 4-3. I'm still in love with that, but I'll let Brian Flores talk me out of it. You got another season or two to talk me out of it and love with 3-4.
Yeah, they got to find a way to shore up that run defense, especially in the middle there, because those guys are getting eaten alive early. And I know that, Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell have started games already in the NFL, and that the Raiders quarterbacks have some experience compared to, what Minnesota's dealing with really here with, JJ McCarthy. But there's still no reason to have that much of a lack of power on the defensive line.
Yeah, and it felt at times like the Raiders quarterbacks were really kind of carving up the Vikings defense out there on the field. And I do think it is important. I know a lot of fans were when the defensive backs and stuff were playing. It is important to remember it is only preseason and we're not running the real Brian Flores defense out there. They're running generic base defense look out there. Do you want to see them get carved up like that? No, you don't. It's a little concerning, but I'm not ready to pull the fire alarm on anything yet. It is only preseason week 1.
But Alexander Madison is getting 8 yards sometimes, and that's not right.
Yeah, that's concerning.
He averaged 5 yards a carry. He had 3 for 15 and a long of 7. So nice to see him back in the building. There's also Amir Abdullah, who went 3 for 9, another former Viking on the team. And always have to talk about him because it haunts my nightmares. Kicker Daniel Carlson was 3 for 3 and 2 for 2 while he was here. So he's still doing great, even though the new kickoff rule was kind of kicking his ass a little bit. I'm sure there'll be some adjustments. Glad to see he's doing so well.
Still don't know what I think of that new kickoff rule. It's going to take some getting used to for me as a fan to fully embrace it.
I think we're going to see more big returns when mistakes happen. Because there were a couple close calls on Saturday.
It's better than them just kicking a touchback every time. It at least gives you the 100%. Option to do that.
Commercial break, touchback, commercial break.
Yeah, you get that extra 30 seconds to pee while they do a touchback and the offense runs out. Like, at least now you have the opportunity to make a big play, because having to make it sort of like when you're playing darts or whatever else, like, hey, you have a specific strike zone here now, and if you kick it out, what do they get to the 40 now if they kick it out of the back of the end zone?
Yeah.
The 40? You got to be better than that, man. That's crazy. So I think that's fun. I think they did the best they could, and obviously with player safety in mind, it's fine. I think it's a good opportunity. It'll grow on you.
And before we get too far off the kickoff rule, I had speculated, that like with it being less of a chance of a risk, maybe in a big situation, you put Justin Jefferson back there and maybe let him try to return one. And Paul Allen asked him that during that third quarter, if he would be willing to go back there and play some. And Jefferson shot that shit down pretty quick. So I do not think you're going to be seeing him on special teams anytime, any soon. Although I do think, man, if you were in the playoffs or let alone the Super Bowl and you needed Jefferson back there to make a play, I think you could probably talk him into it. But no, if it's week 3 against the Cleveland Browns, Jefferson ain't returning no kicks.
Well, I don't know if you can talk Calvin Johnson into playing cornerback. You might be able to talk Justin Jefferson into returning a kick.
Well, that's a good segue too, talking about the Browns, because I want to talk about the quarterbacks some more. All of them that play, but I want to talk about the opportunity that JJ McCarthy has, because now that there's only 3 preseason games, yeah, he'll get extended playing time in the third because nobody's going to play their starters unless he's won the job. But this is a good one because Cleveland is going to have great depth. Former coach of ours is doing great over there, Kevin Stefanski. It's on the road. It's a hostile environment because you're not in the U.S. Bank. So he's got that. And then we go to the Eagles for the final preseason game. That place is always rowdy. So I'm really excited for the opportunity he's going to get more reps.
During the press conference, Kevin O'Connell was talking about how these joint practices are probably going to be bigger for the Vikings than even the preseason games are.
Yep.
So that's kind of exciting to hear. But I do want to not forget that we only did half of Game Ball Donkey. We got to donkey this puppy up.
We should do our donkey. I can start with the donkey. So core special teams guys have to improve a little bit. The blocked field goal, there was a low snap at one point out there. They got to clean that up a little bit. And I'm assuming maybe part of that is, preseason larger roster. Maybe you got guys who aren't going to make the team out there in places they shouldn't be, whatever. You got to fix that stuff. You don't want to have special teams be an issue, especially when it feels like we have a really good kicker that we drafted. You want to set him up for success. You don't want to get him shaken early on in his career with, blocked field goals or any kind of that nonsense.
We got to get you a permanent ring light, Smith.
No, I'm Googling stuff while you guys are talking, because my brain goes to 17 different places while you guys talk. Sorry. Yeah, donkey for me. Jaron Hall. We haven't talked about him. Man, he did not look great. And
the guy that engineered the game-winning drive?
The guy that went 40% during his time and a 54.9 rating? Sure. Yeah.
I thought it was very telling that the Vikings played Jaron Hall and that Nick Mullins didn't see any action. I think Mullins is kind of, right now, it definitely penciled in at least as quarterback 3, and they're just trying to see what they can do for Hall, get him a little bit of exposure, get his name out there a little bit, see if they can't get something for him rather than cutting him and just putting him on the practice squad.
Mullins is, what you have in him. You don't really need to see anything in preseason from him, and he fills that void of that veteran presence in the quarterback room for the team pretty well, and so does Sam Darnold. I don't want to discount him too.
Having both those guys there for JJ McCarthy would be great.
It really is, and so this is why I don't think you've seen him play. I don't feel like he's in any danger of not making this roster. Like he's a shoo-in. I think he's a pretty well a shoo-in for that QB3 position for the team this year.
I think the writing might be on the wall for Hall at the moment, but
it
doesn't mean Minnesota can't see what they got out of him. If they're going to play him like in the fourth quarter or something, why not?
But
it'll be interesting to see if, like in preseason game 2, if Mullins gets that time instead of Hall, just to see if he, kick off some rust or whatever.
You probably want to get Mullins some work in the second game so that he's not going into the season, completely with no reps, with no live reps, whatever. So you probably don't need Darnold in the second one. I'm assuming he doesn't play. Hall, If he's still on the team, you got to imagine he gets the majority of that meaningless kind of third preseason game. He feels to me like the odd man out, Adam. He's really going to have to shine in the opportunities that he's going to get moving forward, I think, to make the roster.
Now, I'm going to be a little bit of a jerk here and toot my own horn just a touch. Because after the NFL draft, we were talking about some of these picks. And I was talking about center Michael Juergens and how he was a little bit undersized and how he needed to hit the weight room, get stronger, and be able to hold up. And guess what? We saw a little bit of that in this game. On the blocked field goal attempt, he was snapper. And after he snapped the ball, he got absolutely pancaked. And it was bad.
There you go.
So I'm still in the same camp where I'm not saying he's not going to work out as an NFL center. I'm not saying that one bit. What I'm saying is that he needs some time to bulk up and get in that weight room, get a little bit more powerful, and be able to handle what's happening here in the NFL, because I thought he had a really rough game. Or at least that play was rough. I asked Will Ragazza on Twitter about how he played, and apparently he had like a 50-something Pro Football Focus score, so he didn't have a great game as far as that goes.
Shout out to Will too. He's amazing for Vikings.
He's real good
on Twitter.
Nice guy too. Sometimes it's rare to find someone who's knowledgeable and a nice person on social media. And
it's real tough.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the quarterbacks just a little bit. I didn't want to interrupt you guys, but I had a point that I thought was interesting to think about, because we've had that consistent level of like pyramids, like Kirk Cousins is the top of the pyramid. It's hard. It's very small to get there because he's one of like the top 12. Then it gets bigger because you can find more of these guys who are not as talented or not as gifted. But I think with this group of quarterbacks, I agree with you guys. And I'm not picking on Jaren Hall. I think it's just unfortunate. He probably will be the odd man out. I think you're right, Adam. I think he will get a more of a look this game, if not the next two games, to try to prove himself. I just think Nick Mullins, just overall, is better than he is. I think we probably all agree with that. You're keeping McCarthy, you're keeping Darnold, so it's really the battle between Jaren Hall trying to beat out Nick Mullins for quarterback number whatever spot. But here's the thing.
Just to say, are all three of us thinking there's zero chance the Vikings go into the season with only two quarterbacks? I think they're taking three almost no matter what.
I don't know how you go in with two after last year and all that crazy crap that happened, because I know it's a roster spot, but you got to have competency there. And that leads to my point, Adam. Now that the average play of quarterback has been brought down, because Kirk, we will miss Kirk because he's better than all three of these guys at the current moment.
Debatable how much I'll miss him.
Yeah, true. All right. He is better than all three of these guys right now.
It's also debatable.
But the average of what these guys bring is more close together as well. Like, last year it was Kirk was playing like an MVP for like 4 weeks, and then he got hurt. We just signed a guy off the practice squad from somewhere else, and then we just had this whirlwind of like this big range of stuff. Now I feel like the ceiling is a little lower, but the floor is also lifted to be like Mullins, Darnold, and JJ McCarthy will give you in the neighborhood of the same tier of quarterback play. Maybe they don't play the same style of football. Maybe they're all different in their own ways.
I know.
But I really can enjoy that if one of the guys goes down, like say Darnold tweaks his ankle and he's out for 2 weeks. Well, it's not going to drop off from number 12 in the league to 38th, like wherever Josh Dobbs was or Nick Mullins was ranked. There will be more consistency there, and I appreciate that. But to your point, Adam, I have PTSD from last year if they don't have at least 3 people on the roster, because – man, that sucked last year. Because it's what Hall came in like as soon as Cousins played, and then like a week later or two, what happened in that Green Bay game? Did he get hurt? And then they went and signed Josh Dobbs.
Yeah,
like it was just really weird. Like you can never have enough quarterbacks. At least this year, they'll sort of be in the same neighborhood as far as like what the expectation is. I think
so. That JJ McCarthy interception was interesting. Let's talk about that a little bit, because JJ McCarthy was under pressure. He had a guy in his face, and he was on the move throwing the ball, and he threw it behind his receiver, which, you can't do that. It is a rookie mistake, and with how fast the NFL game is, a mistake like that is an interception. So hopefully that was a learning experience for him. But he shook that right off and came back in and played real well.
Yeah, that was the point I was going to follow up with, Adam. It really did feel like a learning experience for him in real time because he didn't sulk. He didn't continue to have a crappy performance. He didn't grit his teeth like Kirk and just look angry. It's like he shook it off. He went out there and he seemed better. It actually seemed like it calmed his nerves. Like, okay, I'm a rookie. I've thrown my first interception.
You know, that's exactly what he said in the post-game interview. I don't know if you watched it, but that's exactly what he said.
Yep.
He also was asked how long he was going to keep his tights on.
Yes, and I implore Minnesota Vikings media to stop. There is not a one of us that give a shit how long he keeps his pants on. We don't need to ask him that question ever again. Of all the things that I am impressed the most with on JJ McCarthy, it's his poise as a player and as a quarterback. He speaks like a quarterback. And if you go back, and I hate to keep knocking on someone like Christian Ponder, but moments felt too big for him. He threw an interception and it was too big for him to overcome it. And you listen to his press conferences and he didn't sound really like the leader of a team. And JJ McCarthy, you feel, even as a fan, like I would be gravitated towards him as a leader and as a player. And he's so well spoken and so well composed that I believe him when he says, no, I calmed down after that interception and was able to continue to play.
What do you think about McCarthy? Kind of, I won't say he shook off the narrative, but people still call him a handoff merchant. And that is what he basically did a lot of in Michigan. But I think those throws he made on Saturday quieted that down a little bit.
He's got a good arm. He's got a good arm, and he's got good touch on the football. And I don't know. It's too early to start making these wild claims about what his future is going to be in the NFL and because anything can happen with him. But he seems to have a little bit, guys, of that ability that all of the great quarterbacks have, where it's, let me make the players around me better. Okay. So Tristan Jackson having 100 yards and a touchdown. This is a guy that's been around the league 4 years. He's kind of practice
squad,
and whatever.
Jalen Nailor both just it's so good.
Nailor? I barely know her.
Barely knew her. And part of that, I believe, is JJ McCarthy, his ability to kind of elevate the talent around him. And I never felt, I'm not trying to knock Kirk, but I never really felt that Kirk Cousins elevated the talent around him so much as you had to put really good pieces around Kirk for him to succeed.
What really impressed me in this game about McCarthy was his recognition. A lot of quarterbacks might have been afraid to kind of fit the ball in over a defender or throw that go ball, but he recognized it right away. And even like when Justin Jefferson was on, when he was mic'd up, he was like, "Ha, got him."
Yep.
And he saw the same exact thing that JJ McCarthy saw, and they knew it was good.
I think for me, watching McCarthy, because I watched him like a hawk, you can tell the early moments of the game, it was a little fast for him. But once he played comfortable and he used his athleticism to scramble a little bit, and I loved that he scrambled for the first down with his legs. You would see that from Kirk like once every 4 games. You're going to see this every game from JJ McCarthy. I can guarantee it.
Yeah.
He's got a good arm. And I laugh now because obviously I'm a fan of the moment because this guy's going to be on the team and I see promise and I'm going to get hopeful. But it's calling him a handoff merchant at Michigan is hilarious because it's like, one, of course we have the best running game in the nation. What, are we not going to run the football? Like, that never made sense to me.
But there's something you've been talking about quite a bit is how McCarthy always seemed to make things happen on third down, and we saw that in this preseason game.
That's the number one thing that I came in not really watching a ton of. I wouldn't say watching a ton. I watched some Michigan games, but I didn't analyze him because I'm watching these running backs. I think what's his name, Blake Corum or whatever. Like, he was a monster. I'm watching these guys. I'm watching these ogres on the offensive line. But when I went back and watched the highlights, and then you listen to a Dan Orlovsky, a Chris Sims, these guys who play quarterback, they're saying, hey, look, they ran the ball a lot because they could, But when you come into a game where, and think about the pressure this puts on you, and he deals with this every single second he's on the field. We can't lose a game because that may knock us out of the playoffs, or we definitely won't be the 1 seed playing the 4. We have to win every single game, which means I have to play virtually mistake free. When you're running and running and running, you run the ball 4 times, and then you're like, "Hey, it's 2nd and 12 because the running back got stuffed. I need you to go make a conversion." When you're not playing in rhythm like that and you're not getting the reps, you have to hit it 1 out of 1 times. Here you go. That's impressive too, because some of these guys get better as they throw during the game. Like, I'll watch Aaron Rodgers highlights all the time back in like 2012, 13. Oh, we have to throw it 38 times. He's good with that. We'll do it. I'll do it every game if you need me to. He has to come in after not throwing the ball for 8 minutes. And it's like, you have to get this conversion or we're going to give the ball back. And by the way, we're in their house and they have momentum. And this might be and he's just like, yeah, I got it. Convert.
Why does social media always hunt for anything to pick at and criticize? Because after this game, or even during the game on X, I was seeing people like, yeah, McCarthy's looking good, but he's doing it against 2s and 3s.
Because the internet is just full of trash can raccoons that need to never talk.
Negativity sells. Negativity will get you more clicks than saying positive things about a player. For JJ McCarthy,
he's playing against 2s and 3s. He can't control who he's playing against.
Yeah, and I've always hated that argument of like, well, he's a 1st-round draft pick, and look at him, he's playing against 2s and 3s out there. He should look good. He should be playing well against backups out there in the NFL. He's a fucking 1st-round draft pick. I wanted to talk about his mobility. So I think Smith brought that up.
Yeah.
He is a sneaky, mobile, athletic little quarterback out there. And with him, it's one of those things where early on in his career, I like that aspect of his game. I like the fact that if you're designing an offense for JJ McCarthy, hey, you can give him maybe 1 or 2 reads, and kid, if it's not there, shoot out to your right and make a play with your legs.
But I also don't want to see the Vikings make designed run plays for JJ McCarthy. I don't want that.
I don't want that. But where I'm going with this, though, is that I think it's something that down the line, you're eventually going to coach out of him, you hope, when you're in year 3, year 4, and you're running a big boy NFL offense now, and you're more of the Peyton Manning, making reads, making calls, making checks.
You know what this is reminding me of? It reminds me of when, do you remember who was the Vikings coach that told Christian Ponder to slide head first?
Bill Musgrave?
Was it?
Was it Bill? It had to have been Bill Musgrave.
Because I remember reading that and I was like, we talked about that for almost the whole show. We were like, what is this? Why? Why would you do that to your quarterback?
CTE is what that was.
Somebody didn't like him.
But no, you're 100% right, Adam. I like that aspect of his game. I like the fact that as a young developing player that he can make plays with his feet and maybe get us a 1st down, get us some positive yardage if a play breaks down on the field. But
yeah,
you're
he spun
100%
out of pressure there and picked up the first down with his legs in that one situation. And
right.
That was great.
But you don't want to get this confused. Like you said, he's not
no, he's Lamar Jackson.
He's not Lamar Jackson. You don't want him running an RPO offense where it's every other play you're out there doing designed quarterback runs. That's not what we're saying.
Like Josh Dobbs did in the preseason?
Ooh,
I thought he died. That was a wild hit.
He got blasted on that one. We better talk about Sam Darnold before we get off quarterbacks too, because I kind of feel like Sam Darnold's performance got overshadowed because we're all excited for JJ McCarthy because we know that he's eventually the future of this team. Guys, Sam Darnold played well.
He wasn't like standout spectacular, but he was solid.
He should have had a touchdown. He should have had a touchdown on that first drive. I forget who dropped it. I think it was Jalen Naylor or Tristan Jackson. One of the guys dropped it, and it was I was glad to see the Vikings. I don't know if they went for it on 4th or what, but I know yeah, he should have had a touchdown to his credit. I thought he moved the ball efficiently. He didn't look nervous or jittery. He looked like a competent veteran who would be filling in like the stopgap. You're right, Kyle. I enjoyed what I saw from Sam Darnold. And if that's how he plays, good.
He looked poised. He looked like a quarterback who's been here before because he has. He looks comfortable running the offense. This is what we want to see from Sam Darnold for the Vikings this season, and he'll be able to have a good connection, I think, with Justin Jefferson. Darnold has a bigger arm, I think, than what people realize as well too, and I hope that he's got some of that gunslinger mentality of the F it, Jefferson's out there somewhere. I'm gonna fit the ball into him.
You mean like Nick Mullins? Just make it happen. Throw it.
Just make it happen, baby.
Michael in chat wanted to know what the offensive line. And I think outside of that one Michael Juergens situation, I thought they did a solid job. And during the press conference, Kevin O'Connell said that he was happy with the way the offensive line played. So, I mean, I have no complaints. He has no complaints.
I know
Michael,
McCarthy.
I'm going to read you some stats real quick. Kyle, 1 second. Let me read it.
Okay.
I'll compare them to you. The defense for the Raiders did have 9 passes defended, which you can – I don't know if that started the line or what, but I'll tell you the things you need to see. They had no sacks. They had 1 tackle for loss. The defense for the Vikings had 4 sacks, and they had 8 quarterback hits compared to the 2 that the Raiders had.
Oh, yeah.
So holding up a little better than the opposition was nice. Brian O'Neill didn't play. He had a bucket hat and some cool glasses on.
Yeah.
I don't know how long Christian Darrisaw played. I know I saw him walk out for the captain's thing. I know Garrett Bradbury played at least the first series, but yeah, overall the depth played okay.
Yeah, Ed Ingram had kind of a rough game, but he's still, I believe, a player that can continue to learn and evolve because we've seen him progress a little bit. I'd like to see a little bit more this year. Keep taking those baby steps. Keep getting better.
I know there was one play that McCarthy got absolutely blasted. I think he was out there with maybe second team offensive line in front of him. That was not a very good look. Although I got to give him credit. He stayed in the pocket and continued to make the throw, knowing that he was going to get absolutely blasted. Kid seems tough.
Rookie offensive lineman Walter Rouse looked pretty good too.
Love that. Love that for us. I need the offensive linemen to look good, and I need the Vikings not to switch their positions around like they like to do for the last 15 years of my life. Hey, I brought this up earlier. This has nothing to do with the game because we were talking about Lewis Cine and who might get gone, but I'm okay. I said it on the shout out to my buddy again, Mike, on Twitter. We talk in the spaces a lot, and I made a joke saying we should trade Lewis Cine for a defensive lineman just because we traded a corner for a corner or whatever. But here's another thing, not to root for Lewis Cine to be traded, but if he did, guys, you got to remember, we only have 3 picks next year in this draft, and 2 of them are 5th-round picks. So I just want to throw that out there. If they start wheeling and dealing to people, I won't be upset about it.
But I do think Minnesota will be in line for some compensatory picks, at least one decent one.
Uh-oh. Here's some news for you guys.
Oh, God.
Kevin O'Connell said J.J. McCarthy will not participate in the Vikings night practice. He's dealing with some right knee soreness.
Perfect. We have Sam Bradford 2.0, guys. It's happening. Get ready to get your heart broken.
What's the update on it? He said it's routine. Uh-oh, we're hearing the word routine. You know what that means.
Here it goes.
Yeah, tonight was that rescheduled night practice where they're going to do all the fireworks and stuff.
So if you were hoping to see J.J. McCarthy at practice tonight, it doesn't sound like
you'll see him just not playing.
Sam Darnold show, baby. Let's go.
He'll
Sam
be sipping
Darnold
that
drama,
Gatorade on the sideline. Do they actually put Gatorade there now, or is it water, or how? I actually don't know.
Pure cocaine.
Oh, boy.
That's Everson Griffin. That's what got
Put
him.
Some Brondo in there.
No. Yeah, I didn't watch. I'll be honest, guys. I watched highlights. I didn't watch the second half. I got hungry and I went to the gym. I saw J.J. McCarthy step in and I watched, and then I got bored. So sorry.
After McCarthy came out of the game, I wanted to make onion rings in my air fryer, and my air fryer didn't want to work right, and I got pissed and missed the end half of the football game. They kept coming out soggy. I was irritated with it. It said 10 minutes, and then flipped them, and they were just like you wrung them through a bucket of water. You could pick them up and like squeeze them, and they were juicy. I'm
that
like,
sounds
that's
awful.
disgusting. I was mad. I wanted onion rings. My air fryer is my other donkey.
We'll keep you guys posted about the Stephon Gilmore stuff. It tends to happen on the show, like when we end that night or the next day. News comes out. I will be happy if they sign him. I hope, like Adam said, that it's not an absurd amount of money for a 30-plus-year-old corner. But given the Kyrie Jackson stuff, and we'll talk about that touching tribute they did, given him being gone, given I forget who it was that had the knee injury that took them out. So we're down 2 corners. I'm glad they signed Duke Shelley. I'm good with Byron
Shaq
Murphy.
Griffin. Is Shaq Griffin dealing with
will be playing.
Yeah, yep.
I'm glad that Caleb Evans looked fine. But you can never have too many corners. And he would be, like, no doubt about it, cornerback number 1 in this. Because in my opinion, Adam, we talked about it in the chat, people are going to highlight that one Byron Murphy missed. He got juked. It happens all the time. I'm not worried about Byron Murphy. He showed me last year he's fine. I would like to see him in the slot more. But if you get Stephon Gilmore, not only does that be like, now this is bona fide cornerback 1, it brings you that leadership that you need because we do have a lot of young guys in the secondary.
It's a lot like signing Patrick Peterson at the end of his career when he came in. Like, hey, he's a veteran. You know he's not at the level that he was before, but he's going to bring some solid leadership to the team. That's always important. I don't think you can have enough veteran leadership out there. But you would also, hey, I'm going to rely on him. And it's easier for me to know that you can trust him to be in position than, say, an undrafted, unproven rookie just completely thrown to the wolves out there on defense. So, yeah, I like the signing. I fully expect it to happen. Minnesota is not calling him in for an interview to jerk his chain around and give him a not a big contract offer or whatever. Like, I fully expect sometime this week he'll be on the Minnesota Vikings.
So I logged on to Twitter to see if it might have happened while we're on the show. And shout out to Dustin Baker. That dude's hilarious. It's that meme with the goose. It's just, who were J.J. McCarthy's things? So the original tweet below says, Caleb would have had 500 yards if he got to throw to receivers wide open like J.J. did. It said, who were J.J. McCarthy's receivers in the preseason game? Were they Tristan Jackson and Trent Sherfield and Nick Muse? Like, shut up, dude. God, these people are insufferable. They're miserable twats.
They got to find something. Anything.
I know.
And here's the thing. I outside of playing in Minnesota, I'm rooting for Caleb Williams. You know why? Because he ruffles feathers, and I watched him play in college. The dude is a natural at quarterback. I hate it because he's in our division, but he's going to be fun to watch.
Caleb Williams looked good, and what I've seen, I mean, I didn't watch his full drive or whatever. I've seen a couple highlights. He looked good. Good arm, moving in the pocket. I hate to say it, looks like Chicago probably has themselves a long-term answer at quarterback. As a Vikings fan, I hate that. I hate how good our division is now.
I have to do another one because it's right below this post. Lewis Riddick with the funniest thing on Twitter today, talking about Hassan Reddick. Requesting a trade after being traded because you requested a trade because you want to be paid. That's amazing. Oh, the Jets and Aaron Rodgers always got to have some kind of drama going on. Good God. Thank God we aren't dealing with that, right? Oh, what else do we want to talk about with this game?
I think that pretty well wraps up anything I wanted to talk about.
I think so.
It was a fun preseason game. Like I said, I don't know how often I get that excited for a week 1 preseason matchup. We didn't mention Dallas Turner. I thought Dallas Turner had a good showing when he was out there early on in the game too. He looks like he is going to be a special player for the Vikings.
Yeah, and if I'm not incorrect, I think he was going up against ones, right?
Yeah, he will. I think so.
I'll tell you the thing that I noticed, and Adam, I hope you're proud of me for this. If you're not, you can just be silent or lie. So seeing the size of Dallas Turner and not being a traditional, like, huge defensive end like Daniil Hunter most recently, being an outside linebacker, watching the move that happened because there's a sort of thing like when you watch edge defenders, you can kind of tell like, okay, even though he's still moving and trying, this particular rep is over because the O lineman has done his job. So I see Dallas Turner go around and he's going and going. It's that rainbow move all the way around. And I'm like, nah, he's not going to get it. But because the quarterback hung onto the ball an extra second too long, I watched him use this leverage where the O lineman, the left tackle's arms are up like this, and he just dips underneath. And that's how he got his first sack. I love that he knows the NFL rules and he didn't go and take the guy's legs out or kill him. He just politely slammed him to the ground like a business move. And he also tried some spin moves in the game. I don't know if you guys saw him trying those. I was very happy to see him attempt those. Dallas Turner is going to be a problem, dude. I'm very excited. Very, very excited.
Based on where the Vikings got him in the draft and like where you can project him to fit in this defense down the line, even if he's not used a bunch year one, like he has the potential to be considered, I think, a steal, like the steal of the draft based on where they got him and potential production.
It still is a bit surprising that Minnesota was able to get both Turner and McCarthy in this draft.
Yeah.
Because they were both like at one point considered top 10 picks.
Mm-hmm.
And Minnesota was able to come out of the draft with both of them. And you could tell how, the Vikings general manager was doing anything he could to move up and get Turner when he kept sliding. You got to think he was trying to move up even before he was actually able to because of how much he was sliding.
Very happy with him. I've got his jersey right back here. And I'll be
nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was the one I got off of that site I was telling you about for very cheap. And it's the retro throwback ones from last year, which I'll probably have to get a different one now because I've lost so much weight. I can't wear extra large anymore. Like this is an extra large shirt, and I gotta go back to larges. I had to do it for work too. Not that you guys care, but I'm gonna rant and bitch for a second. I wrote a note and put it back in the box and FedEx it back to the company we get our uniforms from. And I said, hey, I lost a lot of weight recently. Found out I was diabetic. Made some changes. If you could swap these extra larges in here for a large, that would be great. And they politely sent it back with a photocopy of my original order. And they said, yeah, it's past our return policy number of days. So I sent it back again. And I said, you can give these to someone who can wear these. I look unprofessional in these. This was a medical request. Also, if you send it back a second time, all I have to do is not accept it. And after 30 days, it comes back to you again. Your move. So
I cannot wait for the conclusion of this.
They're going to be I'm going to get an email from someone, but man, whatever.
Good. I'd be disappointed if you didn't.
Should be able to get a bag of chips for scene. That's the best thing I've read all day. There we go. Andrew, if you're just now joining us, I said we only have 3 picks next year, first and 2 fifths. Maybe we can get a draft pick for him. At this point, I would take anything.
If you didn't get a draft pick for Booth Jr., who has potential, I still think Booth Jr. has potential somewhere in someone's system. If he can stay healthy, you're sure as shit not getting anything for Lewis Cine.
How dare you?
I just don't think you are.
How dare you?
You could get a player that might be on the bubble getting cut, but
yeah,
a pick might be asking a bit much.
Yeah.
But I want to talk a little bit more about the post-game press conference because Kevin O'Connell opened it by talking about bringing in Kyrie Jackson's family for the preseason game and gave a lot of love to Kyrie Jackson, and it was so nice to see.
I love how much the team is doing for him and his family, and it doesn't feel like they're doing it because they're obligated to. They're doing it because it's coming from an actual place of caring and wanting to take care of his family. So it's really nice to see.
Jahmyr Gibbs is being evaluated for a leg injury. Uh-oh.
What happened?
5 minutes ago, posted on Twitter. I don't know. That's not good for them. He was a fantastic running back last year.
It's true.
Yeah.
Ooh. Uh-oh. Hopefully it's not serious. We're classy fans here. We don't root for people to get hurt, so Godspeed to Jahmyr Gibbs. That sucks.
Except for that one time Anthony Barr landed on Aaron Rodgers. It was kind of funny, but we shouldn't have laughed.
It's funny because you know
did.
why that's funny? It's funny because all the Packers fans got ass hurt and said it was illegal, and it's just a tackle.
Speaking of just a tackle, I didn't hear one single whimper
hip
or
drop?
cry about those hip drop tackles.
I didn't either. It makes me wonder. It makes me wonder if the NFL got ahead of it a little bit with the refs and were like, "Hey, this is a thing, but you also don't need to make it a thing like you do sometimes where you call it just an asinine amount and then we have to backtrack from it. So like don't go overboard with this rule."
Because I didn't see a whole lot of difference between tackling in this preseason game and
No,
tackling last season.
Had you not have mentioned that, Adam, I would have forgotten about that rule change, which ultimately is kind of what you want.
I'm looking on Twitter. I'm sorry, this says my face looks stupid right now. Stephon Gilmore is in a Panthers uniform. Did he play for the Panthers?
I know he's played for a lot of teams.
What? When did this happen? I know he played for the Colts when we did I got to tell you this. I'm going to bring this up every chance I get any meaningful way to. That Colts game where the Vikings came back from like 33 down and did whatever. That route that Justin Jefferson pulled against him that was pretty much just like a just kidding, I'm going this way now. On Stephon Gilmore was the nastiest thing I've seen in the red zone that isn't like that one DeAndre Hopkins catch that shouldn't have been a catch.
Yeah, apparently he played for the Panthers in 2021.
Who knew?
I'm going through like I want this news to happen on the show. I know it's not going to, but I'm looking and said, "Oh, Kevin O'Connell said the Vikings had a great visit with cornerback Stephon Gilmore, and he's in a Panthers uniform." And I'm like, "Ew,
weird."
No, thank you.
Well, they could have him in a Cowboys or even Colts uniform.
Yeah, I've seen the Cowboys one. Yeah, Colts does feel weird.
But like the ones that I see are mostly like Bills or Patriots uniforms.
Wow, this is bold. I'll end the show for my speaking on this. Pro Football Network on Twitter doing the playoff predictor projects the 2024 NFL playoff picture. They have the Vikings in the playoffs. They do not have the Lions in the playoffs. I do not agree with that. They also have Green Bay 3. What the fuck? LA Rams, number 1. Philly, Green Bay, Tampa Bay, San Francisco, Arizona, and Minnesota.
See, I think Detroit has a lot of talent, but I also think their talent is very top-heavy. I feel like they lack a lot of depth. If they get hit by an injury bug, it could be very difficult for them.
That I agree 100%. If they get hit by the injury bug, which can happen, they will be in trouble. But I'll tell you why they scare me, and I'm predicting them. I'm hopping on the Detroit hype train for them to go to the Super Bowl. The one thing that was really glaring last year was their secondary and primarily at corner. They went right out and they're like, oh, okay, cool. We suck at this. We'll go ahead and fix that real fast.
Mm-hmm.
They got really good on paper there. And I'm like, shit, they actually have a really good team. And I'll tell you, after watching receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown is a fucking dog.
And the Lions took the big losses they had on the offensive line, and they went out and they got just as good a quality players to fill in. So I don't think they're really going to miss a beat there at all.
Yeah, it's weird to sit here and give the Lions credit, but they have a really good, well-run team and organization at the moment right now.
Yeah, the NFC North is going to be interesting to watch this year. Every team, I think, is either in transition or on the upward swing. So it's going to be fun to see how things shake out because Minnesota, Chicago, both could be a surprise team. Green Bay ended the season so hot. And the Lions last year, they showed what they can do. So while other divisions are kind of fizzling out a little bit, like I have no idea what's happening in the NFC South.
Nothing. they're fucking terrible.
Okay, here's a fun question to end the show on for you guys. Within the next 5 years, will a team in the NFC North win the Super Bowl?
Yes.
I think right, so that feels pretty good.
I think right now the Packers and the Lions show you too much. The fact we don't talk about this one enough. Bears getting Caleb Williams and actually doing what they should have done with Justin Fields, but it kind of worked out because Caleb Williams is 8 times better than Justin Fields.
Mm-hmm.
That's one for the Bears. They got without a doubt, the best quarterback prospect, I think, in the past 4 or 5 years. They loaded up. They're doing him right. The GM did his damn job. If they suck, it's because that coach is not good. But the Packers went into Dallas and beat the dog shit out of the Cowboys. And the Cowboys, they're not a bitch in the regular season. Like, maybe Philly gets them one time. Maybe they have like the hiccup game against Arizona. There's always a trap game for damn near every team, right? But to go in there and by the end of the second quarter, like at halftime, you're like, this game is it's not in reach. Unless you pull Minnesota versus Indianapolis, you're not winning this game. I can't believe that. And they were one Jordan Love looking like Brett Favre throwaway from putting the 49ers out, who represented in the Super Bowl. You guys realize the NFC Championship game we should have had last year was the Lions and the Packers? Can you even think about that for a second?
That's crazy.
That's who it should have been had Jordan Love not thrown an interception. They didn't, and I've never said this about any Vikings team. I'm not sure about handpicking any other team. We could probably pick them if we dissected and thought really hard. That was truly the team last year was like, they really don't know how good they are, do they?
Yeah.
They really didn't. And the Lions are just good. And I was just thinking about, we were talking about the Lions earlier. Dan Campbell was one more bad season away from like, he might get fired to, hey, we just got an extension because we went to the NFC Championship game and we haven't been there since before Michael Jordan was the greatest basketball player of all time. You realize that?
And let's be honest, the Lions were one roll of the dice away from the Super Bowl.
Oh, Dan Campbell. I know he's got to be pissed at himself for that. It's crazy. It was good. That was entertaining football. I don't know how you guys feel in the chat since we still have people watching. Thank you for putting up with us. I think the only thing I want this year, just as a football fan, not obviously I want the Vikings to do what they can. Mm-hmm. I just don't want to see the Kansas City Chiefs repeat again. I'm getting sick of it. You're
already over the dynasty.
I respect and admire, and we really are living in another era of greatness. And I truly you have to be in awe to watch Patrick Mahomes be that good. I'm ready to see Josh Allen finally get over the hump. I'm ready to see Lamar Jackson be like, oh, hey, y'all said I couldn't do it, right? Here we go. Or Kyle Shanahan to finally get one so he can be like, F you guys, I got mine. Thank you. I can retire. I'm going to the Hall of Fame.
You really just want to see Brock Purdy dink and dunk in a Super Bowl. And hey,
but I was really interested to see Mahomes go to Hollywood, and I don't know how that's going to happen now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is unfortunate for their receiving corps because they're building this year on speed, man. They're just faster than everybody else, which is, I mean, that's the quarterback to do it with, but I don't know. Underrated by the NFL. Yeah, I think they're properly rated now, Jonathan.
Yeah, I don't think the Lions are currently underrated. I think they were. Mm-hmm. But I think they got to where now they have enough respect to where they might not be underrated anymore.
And I saw it on Twitter or Facebook yesterday that outside of the Super Bowl win, that trade between Matt Stafford and Jared Goff might be the most even trade ever because the Rams just cashed it in. They're like, all right, let's go bet on this and hope we win a house. And they won a house. And then Detroit's like, man, I hope we can revive this dude's career. And
hey, we did.
Well, the Rams got their short-term success. The Lions got their long-term success. Everyone kind of got what they were going for.
Yeah.
Not bad. Hey, I'm rambling now.
But we've seen why do we have teams or sports analysts like, this is the worst trade the NFL has ever seen? No.
You can't judge that right away anyways, unless it's just like the value makes you talk about it. Most of the time when it's player for player, you got to see how that turns out. Anybody can have a career revival if the things line up correctly. That's the thing we don't talk about enough either. I was listening to something, I think it was Rich Eisen or one of the shows I love. I can't remember which one, but they were talking about quarterbacks that got wasted that had all the talent in the world, but they went to a terrible place. Like pick any of the St. Louis Rams with Jeff Fisher.
Oh, David Carr.
Carr. I was
100%
thinking David Carr.
Matt Leinart didn't do well because he went to a crappy Cardinals team. I mean, the list goes down. Like how many guys? They even brought up Vince Young. They're like, well, he was damn good at Texas, but he went to Tennessee. Like,
yeah.
Maybe, Vince Young had a winning record in the NFL too. That's what's crazy about him.
And Christian Ponder would have won the Super Bowl than any other team.
I don't know about that one, Adam.
Or if he would have been drafted 58th instead of 12th, nobody would think what they did. But you know what? We'll always bring him up on this show because he did have one good game to win to go into the playoffs. But he won at life because he married Samantha Steele, and has a good family, and good for him.
You're right though. If Ponder was like a 3rd or a 4th round draft pick, and he's drafted somewhere, a stable organization, and he's able to sit for 3-4 years and play around on the practice squad in preseason and learn and develop and grow and mature as a player, he would still probably suck. But I mean, at least it would have not been as bad.
If that situation would have happened, Ponder might still be in the league as a backup now.
Yeah, he was only 12 years ago. He could still be floating around.
He's younger than Kirk, isn't he?
Oh yeah,
is he younger than Kirk?
Yeah, he might be.
But I've been covering for Adam Patrick over on the Viking Age, so you can go check out my work over there. I've been putting out quite a few articles. You can catch me on social media at MNVikingZombie. Some of you might not be watching on Twitch right now, but you could. You could do that.
You definitely could. You should.
You can check out. I've been doing way too many stupid TikTok videos lately, so you can go check those out if you get an opportunity.
There we go.
And I've been trying to be more active over on X, but nobody interacts with me, so I'm talking to myself over there.
Yeah. Kirk is 35, Ponder is 36.
Oh boy.
So they are essentially
the same age.
Essentially the same age. That's wild to think that if his career goes different, he's still playing in the NFL.
I'm gonna look his stuff up now because he works now. He's in like the athletic like representation business of some sort. So,
yeah, I believe so.
He's doing something with that now.
While you are looking that up, I will remind everyone to follow me at Vaguely Square over on Blue Sky. That is my social media platform of choice, where I post some of my photography work. And right now I'm playing Resident Evil 2, the remake. So I've been talking a little bit about that one. We talk movies and all kinds of fun stuff. A little bit of Vikings football as well, too. So give me a follow over there on social media.
Over on Blue Sky, I'm on there as well, but I mostly only share my New York Times games results.
I like it. I can't get on there and whatever stupid website it is. Christian Ponder, Jason LaRosa, and former Equinox Media CEO and Under Armour's North America president, founded The Post, a private membership solely for former collegiate and professional and Olympic athletes to help network and give them leadership guidance to take on a whole new playing field. Wow. The Post. Nice. Good for you, Christian Ponder. You live on in our hearts. Thank you so much. Wes, I forgot to put that up for you to promote your photography and or anything else you can buy on pickfair.com.
Are you still working on getting a domain going?
Yeah, if by working on you mean forgot about, but I'll get back to it here soon.
That's like me, man. I'm about to put this up here for mine. You guys go buy his stuff here. KyleWest84.pickfair.com. You can follow me, Kyle Smith, at NC Dog Dude on social media. I finally did it, guys. I finally ordered a microphone and a new interface, so I will be actually recording music to make this. I've been saying this for a freaking year now, but yeah, I'm going to test the waters. I have no clue on anything to do engineer-wise, production-wise. I have the software, and I will have the hardware here in a few days. Oh, I know I'm going to be frustrated. It's going to piss me off, something fierce. But you know what? I'm going to create something. And that, at the end of the day, is going to be a beautiful thing.
Don't forget, though, when you make an album, do something for you. Sneak, like, a sound of you farting in there or something somewhere.
Oh, 100%. You guys didn't see that earlier. I'll tell you too personal a detail. I have to get up at like 2:30 in the morning, so I'm going to bed right after this. But I went to take a melatonin before the show, which I'm glad it hasn't kicked in yet, because when it kicks in, it's fast. It's like knocks me out. But I was hoping you guys didn't hear that. I got up, and right before the show, I like wolfed down some like to-go Japanese food, and I was telling the guys, you guys were getting antsy in the chat. You were like, hey, are we starting now? We might go do something else if you guys are going to be late. And I ripped the fart in the bathroom, and I was hoping that nobody heard that. And I forgot. I was like, oh, thank God we haven't gone live yet, because that would have been – I'm like running back to get the microphone. I'm like, hey, guys, sorry, I was just pooping my pants in here. Cool. Hey, thank you to everybody, though, in the chat. Jake, Jonathan, Charlotte, Andrew, you guys rock. Mike,
it's always great to have folks in here to talk to. It makes these shows so much more fun.
Oh, and
really
I
does.
absolutely I love this episode. There's actual tangible Vikings football to talk about. No more filler. This is the fun stuff right here.
But next week we're not going live anymore. No more live shows. We're going back to recording through Skype.
Yeah, we're going back to Skype.
You guys are going back to Skype. I'll use StreamYard. I'm not using that shit anymore.
We're gonna lose the entire podcast audio and have to record it again. Adam and I did that once or twice over Skype.
We did one show 3 times.
Oh, that was.
I was a part of that too. There was one night we did.
Rough.
I remember exactly where I was too, and we got done, and my ex-wife was like, "Are you done?" I was like, "Yeah." And then you messaged her like, "We didn't get it. We got to do it again."
But that's what happens when we do these shows in one shot. We don't piece it together and edit it and everything. We are live. We're raw. We go in. We get it done. That's the way
Kyle,
we do it.
to your point too, I know it's close to the season because I've spent too much money recently on new Vikings hats. This is my dad hat, and I've got 4 more coming in the mail because I'm an idiot.
Did you buy any of those inflatable tube men I sent you?
I want to. I don't have a yard to put them anywhere. Oh, I would love to. My son would die if I pulled up. Like when I buy a house down here, if he pulls in the driveway, it's like, what is that? And then I could do the wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man. Adam finds the best stuff, man. You guys really need to find him on Twitter or whatever, because he finds some of the funniest things and puts it out there. I particularly enjoy the dry humor and the kind of like you have to catch it. But that's just me. I appreciated your
kind of like those elephant sweatpants I found.
I forgot about those.
Oh boy, such great stuff. But we'll be back next week. We'll talk about the Vikings joint practice, the second preseason game, and so much more. So come on back. You can listen to this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. I think we're still rocking almost anywhere. So if you type in Purple People Podcast, you should get a ton of our locations. We should probably try to find like some cheap domain to like list all the places we're at, because I don't even know.
That's actually a good idea, Adam.
Ooh, we could have
like purplepeoplepodcast.com.
Yeah, some kind of like little splash page. I ain't paying for it though.
They're real cheap.
GeoCities? Is GeoCities still around?
They're like $15. But you could have ppp.com. You probably don't want to know what that goes to. Don't type that into your browser.
Type it.
I don't want to be on another
watch
list. The government's already looking at me for my military time, so I'd like to not be on the other stuff.
But we'll be back next week, and in the meantime, stay classy, Minnesota.